Hey guys, welcome to lesson 15, the cosine law and finding a side. So similar to sine law, cosine law is to find information about a non-right triangle when we can't use sine law. When we can't use sine law, we use cosine law. So learning goals today, I'm learning the formula called the cosine law and how to use it to find a missing side in an oblique triangle. So again, this lesson's only on sides. Tomorrow will be about angles. Okay, so it says, for any triangle ABC, the cosine law states that the square of the side opposite an angle is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides, less the product of twice the other two sides and the cosine of the opposite angle. So all those words, all that is describing is this equation here. So this is our equation for cosine law. What's very important with cosine law is that no matter what you call your sides and angles, it doesn't really matter. What does matter though is that this side is the one you're trying to find. And this angle has to be the one that's across from it, okay? So again, this side is the one you're finding. These are the two sides you know. B and C are also the two sides you know. It doesn't matter which one is which. But then this cosine of an angle, this angle has to be the one across from the side you're looking for. Okay? And when we're using cosine, to find a side, we almost always have this situation here where we know a side, an angle, and another side. Sometimes we call this SAS, like side, angle, side, okay? Because they're all in a row like this. When they're all in a row like this, there's no way to use sine law here, right? Because we have no side angle pair. We don't know any angles across from any sides. Right? So we have no side angle pair, so we have to use cosine law. Now, cosine law is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. This one, we were trying to find b, okay? So again, this formula is what we need to use, but don't get too caught up with the actual letter, okay? Because we're trying to find b here, so that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with b. And from our formula, we know it should be b squared equals, and then we're just taking the other two sides we know and squaring them and adding them together, kind of like Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so 36 squared plus 52 squared. Okay, again, we just take our other two sides and square them and add them together. And then we're subtracting 2 times one of the side we know times the side we know. Okay, so we're subtracting 2 times one of the sides we know, so 36, times the other side we know, which is 52. Okay, and then this is also being multiplied by cos of the angle across from the one we're looking for. Okay, so this should be 42. So cos 42. Okay, so again, you're just plugging in the two sides you know, here and here, and then the angle across from this side you're looking for. Okay, now I like to do this in a couple steps. So we have b squared equals, I like to add these together first. Okay, do this calculation first, do this one separately, and then we know we're going to be subtracting the two answers. So I'm going to do 36 squared plus 52 squared. That gives us 4,000. So 4,000. And then we know we're going to be subtracting whatever we get when we type this into the calculator. Okay, so we have 2 times 36 times 52 times cos 42. Okay, so we get 2,782.3. I'll just do one decimal place here. Okay, so we subtract these. 4,000 minus 2782.3, and I get 17.7. And then to get b by itself, like this, we need to square root both sides, right? The square root over here cancels with the squared. And then the square root of this answer, is our final answer for B. Nearest tenth of a unit, so that's 1 decimal place, so we're 34.9. Okay, and this is in meters, and that's our final answer. Okay, so that is cosine law. On the back side, this will get a little bit different, but this one is basically exactly the same with different numbers, okay? Only difference here is none of the sides are labeled. If none of the sides are labeled, you might as well make it easy on yourself and make A the side you're looking for, right? And then make the angle across from it angle A, right? So if we make this A and this small a, and then we're finding A here, okay? And my cat has decided to join us. Okay. So, we're doing A squared, right? Our formula is A squared. A squared equals B squared. So either one of these can be B and C. It doesn't matter which one. So if we just go 400 squared plus 375 squared, and then we're subtracting 2 times the two sides. So minus 2 times 400 times 375. And then the cosine of the angle across. So across from A we have 35. So cos 35. Okay. And again, I'll just do this in 2 steps. I'll do this first, and then I'll do this. Okay, just make sure we're plugging into the calculator correct. 400 squared plus 375 squared equals, this is going to be a big number, so we have 300,625. 306.25 minus 2 times 400 times 375 times cos 35. Okay, so we have 245,745.6. Okay, so we subtract these and then we know we need to square root it, so we can just do that in 1 step. Square root will cancel over there, and then we're going to square root the answer we get here. So A will equal the square root of 300,625 minus 245,745.6. Okay, so after we square rooted it, we should get 234.3 if we round it. And this is in meters, and that is our final answer. Okay? Again, you can always show this extra step if you want. I just square root it all at once because I know I'm going to have to square root it. All right, on to the next side. Okay, this one says solve HJK rounding all quantities to the nearest whole number. So we're solving the whole triangle here. As soon as you see that it's a side angle and a side, you know you're going to have to use cosine law to start this one. Okay, and when we use cosine law, we'll be finding this side here we can call small k. Okay, so let's just jump right into cosine law, and we'll go from there. So k squared equals our other two sides squared, so 54 squared plus 48 squared minus 2 times the two sides we know. And again, this is just the formula that's on the front page. I'm just plugging the numbers in the formula. And then cos of the angle across from the side we're looking for. So cos 38. Okay. So we have k squared equals, and if we separate this into two separate, so 54 squared plus 48 squared equals 5,220 minus 2 times 54 times 48 times cos 38. 4,085 point, I guess it's 0.0, so we can just leave it as that. Okay. And we know we're going to have to square root this after we subtract. So let's just do that in this step. These will cancel. We'll be left with k equals the square root of this. So the square root of 5220 minus 4085 is, this is to the nearest whole number. So we're going to round this to 34. 34 millimeters. Okay. So K is 34 millimeters. So we can write that over here as well. 34 millimeters. Okay. And now we need to find one of these angles, because all we're missing now is angles. We know all the sides. Okay. The only way we can find one of these angles is by using sine law, because we have a side angle pair now, right? We know this side, we know this angle, so we can use that to find one of the other angles. Okay, it doesn't matter which one you start with. I'm just going to start with H. So to find H, remember sine law is whatever you're trying to find. So H is an angle, so it needs to be sine H over the side across from it, so over 48, equals the side angle pair we know. So sine 38 over 34. Okay. So to get rid of this 48 and get H by itself here, we need to multiply both sides by 48. Okay, these cancel. We're left with sine H equals whatever this is. And again, if you remember from yesterday's unit or lesson, I'm going to multiply 48 by sine 38, just so we don't accidentally multiply 38 and 48. Okay. And then divide that by 34. We should expect a decimal here. If you're writing it down, always leave 4 decimal places. So 0.8692. And then remember to get H by itself here when you're finding an angle, use sine inverse on both sides. Okay, sine inverse over here, these cancel. Okay. So sine inverse of this answer is 60 degrees. We could just leave it at 60 degrees. Okay, so H is going to be 60 degrees. This means this is 60 degrees. And to find J is the last thing we need to find here. We can just do 180 minus the other two angles. So J is going to be 180 minus 60 minus 38. And J is, so 180 minus 60 minus 38 is 82 degrees. Okay, so we found everything we were missing. J is 82 degrees. And we found K, H, and J, so we're all good. Okay, on to the next one. This is where you'll see cosine law. Something different is going to happen here. But as much as I say it's different, it's really just the same. We're trying to find the length of this pond, okay? You can call this whatever you want. You can call it P if you want for pond, okay? And then, so just remember with cosine law, we put whatever we're looking for, the side we're looking for first. So p squared equals the two sides we know squared. So 237 squared plus 185 squared minus 2 times the two sides. So 237 times 185 times the cosine of 126. Cosine of 126. Okay? Okay. P squared equals, so again I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to subtract it by this in the calculator. Okay, so we have 237 squared plus 185 squared. I get 90,394. And then we're subtracting whatever we get when we plug this in. So 2 times 237 times 185 times cos 126. And you'll see we get a negative number. Okay? This might seem strange, but what happens with cosine is when you take the cosine of an obtuse angle, notice every angle we've done so far has been an acute angle. Obtuse means it's greater than 90 degrees. If we take the cosine of an obtuse angle, we know it's going to be negative, okay? So we're subtracting still our answer. So we're subtracting a negative. As soon as we have two negatives in a row, we should put a bracket. Negative 51,542. And then I'll just leave it 0.9. Okay. Two negatives in a row make a positive, so we're actually adding these numbers together. Okay. So we have 90,394 plus 51,542.9. And we get 141,936.9. Then of course to get p by itself, we square root both sides. And p will equal square root answer 376, and I'll just leave one decimal place, 0.7, and this is in feet. Okay, that's our final answer. So yeah, just something to be careful of with the negatives here. If you have an obtuse angle, you're taking the cosine of it, you know it's going to be a negative, but we're still subtracting everything over here, so it's two negatives in a row. Okay. Okay, last question, and for sure the most difficult on here. So we have flight A traveling 800 kilometers per hour in this direction. I'll talk about this in a sec. Flight B takes off at the same time and travels at 1,000 kilometers an hour in a different direction. How far apart are the two planes after 2 hours? Draw a labeled diagram with your solution. Okay. So there's a few things we need to talk about here. First, we need to know our north, south, east, west. Okay, so if we draw a little compass, which you should always do on a question like this on your page, and then just remember north, east, south, west. So you can think of this as never eat shredded wheat. That's how some people remember it. Okay. And now we need to draw the actual situation. So we have a starting point of the planes taking off, and flight A is going north 32 degrees east. So if you're looking towards the north, okay, I'm going to draw a dotted line because we're not actually traveling towards the north. But if you're looking towards the north, and then you're heading 32 degrees east, okay? If you're looking towards the north, 32 degrees east is something like this. So our plane is going this way. Okay? So this is north, this way is east. we're going north 32 degrees towards the east. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Our second plane is taking off and going north, so along here, but then west, so to the left, 62 degrees. So this is going to be 62 degrees, and they're going out this way. Okay, so remember, this is flight A, this is flight B, and the goal here is to see how far apart they're going to be after 2 hours of traveling. So we're trying to find this distance here. Okay. Notice how far apart is a distance, but our two measurements are given in a speed, right? So we need to figure out how far these planes have actually traveled in 2 hours. Okay. So flight A, I'm just going to say FA. The distance of FA is going to be 800 kilometers per hour. That's how fast it's going, times 2 hours. Okay. Once we multiply these, we get the kilometers as traveled. So we get 1,600 kilometers. So in the 2 hours of flight, flight A has gone 1,600 kilometers. So we can put that here. Okay. And then flight B has been going faster. It's been going 1,000 kilometers per hour. But also for 2 hours, it's been flying. So 1,000 times 2 is 2,000 kilometers. So over here we have 2,000 kilometers. Okay. So after 2 hours, flight A has gone 1,600 kilometers. Flight B has gone 2,000 kilometers. And now we have a clear cosine law problem, right? We know a side, we know an angle, we know a side that are all side by side like this. And when we use cosine law, we are going to have to use this entire angle. Okay. So we need to add these together. So 62 plus 32 is 94. So we need to use 94 degrees. Okay. And then we'll find x. So cosine law, always start with the side you're looking for, so x squared, and then you're adding the other two sides together, squared, squared, okay, and you're subtracting 2 times the other two sides. And then times the cosine of the angle, so cosine 94. Okay. We have x squared equals, these numbers are going to get really big on us. So I'm going to cheat and just put this into my calculator all at once. As long as you do it properly, you should be okay. But if you have a calculator that is different and you can't actually put brackets and stuff, then just take it one step at a time, okay? So we have 2,000 squared plus 1,600 squared minus 2 times 2,000 times 1,600 times cos 94. And we get this big number. Okay, so I'm going to write this one down. What is it? It's 7,006,441.4. And then, of course, to get x by itself, we square root both sides. And we get that x equals the square root of this, which is 2,646. And we can, really, if you round this, I guess it's 247. Okay. So let's do 2,647, sorry. And this is in kilometers. And if you look at our diagram, this makes sense, right? That it's higher. It's a bit higher than both of these, which makes sense because these are traveling away from each other. So they're just going to get further and further apart. Okay, so we can say, therefore, the flights are 2,647 kilometers apart. Okay. And that is it for that one. You guys can go ahead and work on the practice. Make sure you're checking your solutions as you go, and asking questions if you have them. Good luck.